Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday, it's September 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and we are headed back up. Volume and volatility looks basically like it's been back to normal the last few days, basically this whole week. Actually, it was a little bit low a couple of days there, Monday maybe, but the volume looks relatively normal. Price action looks relatively normal to me. I'm we're headed back up. We're inching back up towards 2,000. So we've taken back most of what we lost in the sell-off, which has been typical lately. So things are looking up, and maybe the sell-off is history. We may have another one. Who knows? But for now, today we basically had a two-tiered channel working higher. Very basic trend line, relatively easy to find. There's a shorter term channel here with a break and attempt to get a new high, and then this touch right here confirmed this trend line off those swings, and that's where it really took off. And you can see those key entry points. Where did all the big moves happen? Look what happened when we came back to it again here. Look at that big move, and that big move. That's a fairly decent move right there pretty quickly. So, of course, that set the trend line. So even though it took off, it came back, and when it tested it again, man, look at that move. And if you can just catch that one move or this one move, that's all you need. And so it's some pretty good stuff today, pretty good trading. And really, it was a range here, so you could trade this both ways. These trades right here are kind of iffy. I'll explain basically the reason I like these to the short is because this was a pretty obvious range here, and we overshot it here. And generally, that's going to lead to generally that will lead to a break of the trend line on the other side, but we didn't get a break. It held and gave you a chance to get long. But I like this. This one is closer to being green than this one, but I still liked them both. This is a lower low here. This is the overshoot. You got that one tick higher, that big bearish bar, but it's too big to get short, so you get a chance right here. And I like this second entry short here. And generally, you wouldn't see me mark a short in an uptrend, but I like this one because it started off rangy, more range looking, and there's your first. This is a two-tiered range here, and you look for a measured move, and where do you get it? To the tick up here, and that's another reason I like that. And you can see that right there. We're basically to the tick, a perfect measured move there. And so when you see that, that is a good sign. And that's the other reason. And it gave that one little tick. Notice there's a double top and that one little tick. So that's why I like that to the short side. But normally on a two-tier trend working higher, you wouldn't see me mark a lot of shorts or anything. But you didn't really get a lot of chance to enter long on this thing. Um, you might have considered entering here, but we were so close to that high and you got to go long at the high of the day. I don't recommend it. I think when you see it didn't go very far before it turned down, and then you get a better chance to enter, and that's the first break of this trend line working here. So then it shoots back up. It ends up going much higher, but I don't think you can enter long again here either. So, but a good trading day. Not a lot of trades, but you only had to catch a couple of these bigger ones, and they're pretty obvious trades that are not that hard to find. So, but anyway, let's back out, and you can see up until this point how it looks like a range. It basically looks very rangy. Prices swinging on both sides. You got a shorter term trend working up through here. Um, but I was looking at the ranges, the bigger picture at that point. So you got a long right here. Notice this new low. You pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and it fails and turns up. You can't go long above that bar, but what I liked was this bar, and when it broke above it, either putting a stop where this one would have gone or putting a limit order in here and maybe getting a tick or so back. You could have got filled way back, maybe 3 ticks into this red bar or 4 or 5 ticks back into the green bar. So I like that one, but I really liked it, not because of the failed second entry short, but I liked it more. That was one of the reasons, but there's your trend line off the first two. That was the confirmation of this shorter term trend line. And so I felt that would push us to the high of it. And notice where the high was. The, the measured move up plus the it's right where the top of the range would have been a measured move. And based on this half of it here, you probably wouldn't have had that yet. So just scratch that idea. Most people wouldn't be able to find that. It's probably getting a little bit um, further ahead. But look where it happens. It's right at the top of this channel right here. At that point, I wasn't sure if maybe it's a two-tiered channel, like so, and maybe it is, but we never got up into the second half again, second part of it again. That's because the larger channel took over. So I hope that's clear. But the main reason I like this one is because of the confirmation. But look at the signal bar. It's horrible. But look at this bar. But you know, if you can't go long above that one because you're it's too risky and too big of a move if it turns down. So you've got to be a little bit you got to think outside the box a little bit and find a better way to enter. And you could have. And sometimes it'll go without you when you do that, but that's just the way it works. And then it pulls back again and kind of gives you a breakout pullback long because there is a little bit of resistance across there. And this is not a perfect signal bar either. So that's the reason I drew that one green. But it does bounce off the EMA. If you want to be aggressive, you're probably going to take that one looking for the new high here, and maybe looking for it to go to the upper side of the channel that's working higher, and that's what it does. And then I like this for a short. You know, it's tempting to take this first entry, and if you want to be super aggressive, you probably could, but this is more of a doji. You know, it closed real neutral, and then this one closed real neutral. So I think you're better off to wait on the second entry, which comes here, and it's a lot more bearish bar. You could have used if you weren't real sure about this one, or if your signal bar is not very bearish, you might have considered waiting on the break and dropping a limit order or a tick or so back in just to try to get a little better entry. But that sets your trend line working down, and then it pulled back here. But notice how that goes right through the EMA, pulls back, and it turns down. That's the confirmation of that trend line. You get a big bearish bar, so I like going short there. Again, you might have used a limit order, but you can use a stop there if you like. Would have worked pretty quickly. And it pulls back. And this is a second entry short right here. Notice how there's a new low. It goes up, it comes back. Goes up and then comes back. So if you went to a smaller chart, you'd see a clear two legs up and a clear second entry short, but you don't have a lot of room back to this midline, and so there's support right across there. So I was a little bit leery of that, and actually earlier, you might have been looking at this low maybe being the trend line here, but you wouldn't have had any confirmation of it yet. But you just had to be a little bit aware of the support across here is the main reason that I don't like that one. This should actually be right there. You just had to be wary of that. And that's that's a fairly bearish bar. It didn't close on its exact low. Could have on your chart. But there's some reasons to consider that trade, but I think you're better off to skip it because of that support. I think it would have worked if you had have taken it, but I think you're better off to wait. And it's tempting to go long right here. And I guess you could have gone long right there because it is a bounce off that support. But you really didn't have this trend line confirmed. There's no real break of this yet. You're better off to wait and see if it doesn't pull back and give you another opportunity to get in. If you want to be super aggressive, maybe there. I'm not even going to mark it green. I just don't like it. I think it's too risky because if this turns out to be a range, it could break higher and turn and go to the straight on down to this low side, and that's about where that channel was heading. But notice what happens. You get back up here, the high of the range. You get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry. I was just sitting here waiting on it. It was tempting to go short right here. And if you had them, it would have worked. And, you know, you do have that little trap up there. I'm willing to even make that one green now that I think about it after the fact. Uh, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to go short there really bad, but I said, you know what, I'll wait and see if we get the failed second entry long, and of course we do. And so that's the best place to go short, and that was a nice trade. And I actually, you could have used a limit order here, and if you did, you probably were out pretty quickly and might have even got a runner off that one. But either way, you could have just used a stop right there, and that's a nice, easy, but quick move. And when it bounced right here and didn't get back down here, there's telling you something's going on right here. And so hopefully you drew that trend line across there, and then watch 3 bars closing right across there. If you put that where it really goes, you can see that's right inside that close. And then it bounced right there. We touched it once, it went up, it came back, touched it again, and then went higher. I like going long right there with a stop, period, because that's confirming that trend line, and it tested it multiple times. There's a reason it came up short from this midpoint where it had been bouncing the previous times. This is a higher low. You figure you're at least going back to here, but guess what? They trapped a bunch of people, I'm sure, and they ran this thing and went straight on through. And at this point, you got a confirmation of this trend line. Just drag it up to the highs, and you can see it coming right across there. And it may be a little bit lower right there where it touches right there, but to me it actually fits better right there. So, but either way, it doesn't matter. Um, and you don't really get another chance. There's a failed second entry short right there, and so that's tempting to go long. It did break out the low side and then turn out the top. So, but the problem is you got to go long at the high of the day. And that's dangerous because most of the time it'll break a few ticks higher and then back up. And that's what it did. It would have worked, but it still backs up and gives you a better entry here. Notice this new high pulls back first entry, pull back to the EMA, and it breaks lower and turns up. This is really your signal bar right here. And you can go long on a buy stop right one tick above that, and look at that thing go. And that's a great setup right there. And you're looking for it to retest this high, and that's exactly what it does. And it ends up going higher. I don't think you can go, twice we've turned down and pretty much confirmed the upper side. You can see the midline fits in here real nicely. So I don't think you can go long again. There is a failed second entry short, but I'm sure not going to go long right into that trend channel line there. It probably would. There's no probably. It would have worked, but it's not worth risking. You're better off just to sit and wait and be patient. And then guess what? You get that measured move up here to the tick, and you get that one little tick higher, and it turns straight down. Like I said, it was tempting to go long there, but just wait and see what happens, and it tries to go higher, and it gives you a chance to get in right there. And there is a shorter term trend line working down through there too. Just like that right there. So, and it's right off, it gives you that trend line. You can see it's working. And so I like that for a short. I thought maybe this thing might go all the way back down on that trend line, but it doesn't. You get your break and it comes back up and gives you a bigger pattern. But notice this new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. This is not your signal bar. This one is. This is too bullish. So wait on this one. And you get the break, and when it didn't go lower here, it's showing you got a little support there. So when it broke lower, I like probably using a limit order, a tick or so back in this. But you still could have used a stop right there. And look at it go. Nice quick move. And then where does it bounce? Right off the trend line. Again, it's tempting to go long right there. I was a little bit leery of it because we didn't have a break of this trend line yet. But when it broke lower and failed and turned back up again, this bar is more neutral, and this is kind of a congestion area. So if you did go long right here, you just about have to do it with a limit order and try to get a little better entry. If you did use a stop here, it's a little bit dangerous because this is congestion. But the reason we were finding congestion is because you've got the channel working down, but when it went lower and bounced once and then twice right off that line, that's telling you this bigger pattern is taking over, and they're fighting between them. And see how it looks like a little wedge? I always tell people there's no such thing as a wedge pattern. Generally, when you see a wedge, it's because there's conflicting channels that coincide with one another at that location, and it looks like a wedge. And in this case, the bigger pattern holds out and it takes off. And you really don't get another chance to enter that, because that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour, and then it just kind of goes into this, and you don't want to enter in that. But it breaks higher, and where does it find resistance? Right at the top where you'd expect, and it works back to the midline, and it goes back to the top, and now it's headed down. So it's a clear pattern. It's proven itself over and over and over, and the only place it actually even overshot it was, or got outside, was here on the overshoot. And that's why I like those two shorts. If it had just turned down off the top right here, I wouldn't be interested in those shorts. That overshoot is what gave me the confidence to want to enter there. And so that was pretty much it for today. We'll back out again and show you the big picture. Clear two-tier channel working higher. It looked a little range. I mean, that's the way it's been looking lately. It starts off like a range, and then it ends up trending at some point in the last few days. It's actually trended up pretty strongly yesterday. Today was not, was not a bad trend day, but it wasn't like it was yesterday. So, but anyway, we'll be back again to do it on Thursday, and that'll wrap us up for the week. No chart lesson on Friday. Still not going to get back into the Friday ones just yet. But hope you had a good trading day, and we'll be back tomorrow. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.